So maybe I guess I'll paraphrase your question to maybe just kind of move it away from like. How can you give us all the answers? Because I guess it's quite difficult to do that. But what is it? I mean, in society or in people's lives that kind of pushes them over the edge? And can there something be done to prevent it? Maybe. And then I'll come to.
I was talking to a guy I met randomly in a pub who worked for the Samaritans, and I was I found it really interesting, what they say, how they talk to people that are considering, the Samaritans set up as this exact thing that a lot of people have said today, as a place for people to talk. It's not, the idea is suicide prevention, but you could phone up the Samaritans about anything, and it's not up to them really to decide what you talk about. But what I found really interesting is that, they've done a lot of research on the kind of people that commit suicide, and it's quite impulsive rather than the people that are really, really depressed, as Ramon was saying, don't get up and do anything. So it's actually tends to be people that are either going into a depression or coming out of a depression that tend to be the ones that actually are in danger of suicide. But I could go on. I don't want to sort of hog the mic, but I've got a lot from what he said about how to talk to people that are in that situation. And one of the things is you talk about he says that people don't want to die, they just don't want to live anymore, which is a different thing, and it's about their lives being just not worth living, but they don't actually want to die. They're forced into it from the state of their lives. So
it's kind of like reframing, the reasons why, and also, does that make any sense to you? Is it John? No.
John.
John. Does that make any sense to you? I mean, is there anything in this conversation that kind of resonates with you?
Well, I suppose that the first thing would be that if we could scrap the idea of mental health as different from physical sort of illness, and that would help. Sort of because in a way, all illnesses have a mental component, or they are related. Yeah, so they are a psychosomatic sort of element to it. So I think that would help if we did not separate. And then in terms of the suicide thing that you were mentioning, I suppose it's such a complex thing that is very difficult to pinpoint and say this is the reasons this, and as you said, probably in some cases there is just the impulse. There's not just a long process just thinking about it, but I think it's just creating a society that cares for people, and that should be at all levels. That should be at the local level, at the friends level,
give us your final thoughts.
At the government level, and I think we can see that these, but also there is a danger of patronizing.
Give us 1 second, John. I'm really sorry to stop you mid-flow, but I want to grab final thoughts from these people before look, he's gone as far away as behind this tree to escape from final thoughts. But I do wonder whether there's something you can leave us with, anything they're going to come away with, any questions, change of directions, completely anything. Could be an out of nowhere comment. We like that too.
Well, I think mental health is often very misunderstood, and I think actually most people go through some period of mental health problems in their lives, and we just need to be more open to other people's needs.
Do you feel like your mental health needs are met on every day-to-day basis? What helps you meet your mental health needs?
I'm not sure.
Local green space. You can talk about local green spaces. That's very good for mental health, apparently.
What should we say about it?
If there's a building in an estate, and in America, there was the research, they put a patch of green and the domestic violence went down by 30%.
How big patch of green
I
are we
quite
talking?
like something like this, just that it's just much nicer. And so green spaces are good for mental health, not only pets.
Do you know how they kind of address the issue of trees? Obviously, it looks like these trees have been here for a while. Do they just how do they grow tiny trees? Or
I have no idea. I I have no
Okay.
idea. Just green.
So maybe green.
space.
Okay, is that
I'm
where you're
sure
going
the
now?
older
You're going to
tree-
green now?
I mean, very some green space. I think the older the tree, the better.
Okay, more older tree the better. Okay, thank you. They say that about other things as well. Actually, the older the better. I don't know what other things. Mike?
We were doing Talkaoke in this place in Camden where they had 400-year-old trees, so they were really, really old. And yeah, it definitely gave that sense of, it was a place to talk under the tree. It went very, very well. It was a good place to actually speak.
How big are
Yeah.
the states? Wow, how big are the states?
Does the side of the country that you're from, does that reflect in a greenery? Are the trees bigger, bushes thicker? Like how is it? Are flowers more flowery?
I'm from the Midwest, so I have a lot of cornfields and forests and that where I grew up. So I'm used to the trees and all that. So I guess, yeah, it does help with mental health on some aspect. I noticed when I have gone into bigger cities that don't have as much greenery and all that, it does kind of dampen my mental health. Like, it's, how do I word it? It's a lot harder to be one with nature if you're not exposed to that nature.
Okay, so we need to actually maybe, if you're not as lucky as to be from Midwest and have cornfields all around you all the time, you have to go and seek out the green spaces. Go and find this patch of green somewhere in between blocks of flats and that kind of stuff. I mean, do you go to green spaces, John, much? Are you a local in this park? What's happening?
No, I'm not. But I've just moved to London a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So.
How is London doing in terms of green spaces? One sec.
In terms of green spaces, it's all right.
Yeah?
I think the main problem, other problems, I think London is quite lucky in terms of compared to other cities.
Yeah.
In terms of green spaces.
Yeah, what's that?
Especially East London.
What is it about East London that's so
I think we have a lot of green space in East London. I mean, you don't think?
No.
Okay, Tommy?
I used to live in Berkshire, so I'm used to.
But I mean for a city. For like if you go to West London, okay, if you go around Shepherd's Bush, there's like there's one green, and then you're really struggling to find any green anywhere, any parks, anything. You know.
Okay, so
No, you're completely correct. I mean, this is the only reason I know this place because I live 2 minutes down the road.
Okay, so you're local.
So I would never come to Hackney to a green.
Right. So I mean, so what do we think about this idea of like Hackney being quite a lucky place, be it for the greenery? Earlier we were talking about Hackney is the party scene and the sexiest borough in London. I mean, sure. I mean, yeah. Is it a sex capital? Yeah. What do you think? Sexy green space.
Sexy green space.
I mean, could we get a bit more sexy with this Hoxton Garden? Can we sex it up a bit? I mean, it's green, it's inviting. Can we do something? Yeah.
This is actually quite inviting because I'm off work for a while,
Right.
but it's actually quite. I live 2 minutes down the road. I go get my shopping, and I will sit here for an hour or so just to get some sunlight and
Here in the garden.
and the greenery.
Okay, but what do we
But
think?
if I
Yeah.
didn't, Alternatively, I'll find somewhere else where I can sit down.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with greenery.
So you are quite aware the green space is doing you good, so you'll seek it out. But it's quite lucky that you've got this garden. I'm just going to come to Laura very quickly. Laura?
I agree that there is a lot of green spaces, but I have an issue with how the green spaces very often look like, because this garden is lovely, but some of the parks that are added to the list of like, oh, in London there's the most amount of parks in whatever European city, not anymore European. Yeah, but the parks have like 2 benches, no trees, like they are not very welcoming.
Maybe
So
nothing sexy about it.
Are you talking about official parks though, like Hackney? Because all the Hackney Run parks, I have to say, even though I don't really want to say anything favourable about Hackney Council, really, but I have to say, there's a lot of money being put into Shoreditch Park at the moment. Victoria Park looks amazing. Haggerston Park looks amazing. this isn't actually this is a private garden, this, and I don't know, you do know that this was set up especially for people who have flats around here who don't have outside spaces, so it's officially their garden, it's the community's garden.
Okay, so in theory or in practice, Tommy is a co-owner of this garden.
Yeah,
is that right?
in a way, yeah.
Okay, so there's more ownership. I'm gonna hello, come and join. I don't know what you're saying, but you can come in. You can come in and enjoy. Exactly, come and join this Talkaoke and enjoy the green space, because we have popped up here today, and it's a green space, and everyone's happy.
It's absolutely fantastic.
All right. Yeah, get them to come. Anyway, Aidan, you had your hand up forever, and then I will come to you, Mikey.
I mean, I'm staying in the Angel area right now. I don't know of any parks around there. Here, I can. But I am studying in, sorry, I'm gonna butcher it, been here for 2 months, still can't pronounce it, Holborn.
Yeah.
Holborn.
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 How do we say Holborn? Yeah. Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
Hello. But I'm studying there, and we have I can't think of the name of it, Bloomsbury Square.
Oh yeah.
That's like a minute walking from my study center. And I would barely call it a park. I mean, it's got a couple trees, a couple benches, but other than that, it's a plaza. Like, there's like 10 cement paths going through it. It's barely green.
So is it like this kind of philosophical quandary? How many trees actually make a park? Mikey, over to you.
Well, I don't think it's very many. I was in the Olympic Park, and some people came up to me and said, they're American tourists actually, and they said, excuse me, can you tell me where the Olympic Park is? And I said, you're in it. But it's just there's not enough really trees and green spaces in the Olympic Park, in my mind, to make it a park. It's mostly tarmac.
No, I wasn't pointing to anything. Sorry. Okay, so but don't you think that if there were too many trees, they wouldn't be able to see wood for them trees? Anyway, I'm glad that you've got lots of things to say, but we've got a new person to the table, and welcome, new person. I've got a feeling you may have a name. What is your name?
Dina.
Dina. Hi, Dina. We've got Laura, we've got Aidan, we've got David, we've got Mikey, we've got John, and we've got Max, and I'm Margot, and this is Talkaoke. Basically, it's a pop-up talk show, so the subject is what you have just heard, parks and whatnot. I mean, what brings you into this park? I mean, are you coming here for your mental health? Because that's what people say.
Sorry, can I just say, this is not a park, this is a garden.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, because this is bone of contention in here all the time, that a lot of people treat it like a park, okay, but we promote it as a garden, and it's kind of, what is the difference? Well,
I think it's size as well.
Go on.
There's a question of size
grab a mic, Dee.
and maybe more plants, different flowers and things. In a park you could have just trees.
I think it's how it's used too, maybe.
Sorry?
How it's used, maybe.
So
How it's used, and and I think people working in a garden, I mean, not just the professional ones and the people who are supposed to do it. Not exactly. I'm coming from the city, so I mean,
Well, welcome.
But
you're welcomed in this garden, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it's a beautiful one. Yes, I never noticed it between you and me, which is a shame.
Yes,
because I've been, the college there, and well, you maybe never go beyond, but anyhow.
Well, anyway, welcome to this garden/park.
Oh, I see.
But this is a very good question. I mean, is there a difference? And I'll come to you, Aidan. Is there a difference, and Laura as well, between a park and a garden? Is it how we use it? Is it what it's called? Hello, over there, and we've got a new face around the table on this side. Haha. What's your name?
Priyanka.
Priyanka, welcome. I will do a round of names because why not? You've got Mikey, John, Max, Dee, you've got Laura, Aidan, Tommy, he's back, and we've got David and Margot, and this is Talkaoke. Aidan, over to you, and then to you, Laura.
What was I going? Like you said, this is considered a garden. In the States, we have national parks. I don't know if you have many over here, but maybe that's the difference. The difference between a garden is how much greenery you have, whereas a park is natural. Like, you have the Badlands Park, you have Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, just a few famous ones, And then you have Central Park, which could honestly be considered more of a garden in New York, because it's, how do I word it? A lot of the stuff isn't originally from there. There's fountains and there's paths all over. It's not really a park, it's more of a huge garden.
Okay, so maybe people just don't quite get the difference, but maybe the difference between a park and a garden is the amount of trees. We're talking about very old trees. I will come to Laura. You pointing to Max? Did she have something to say?
She kind of insisted on the garden, so maybe what's your difference?
Yeah, Max, why don't you tell us? What is the kind of general word on the street? What makes a garden a garden?
What's so naughty about park?
Okay. It's something that the gardener always says to me, Stephen, that this is a garden, not a park. And I think it's something to do with the community owning it as their garden, and that a park being more of a big public space that anyone can go in and do whatever they want, because that's basically what happens. And I guess in some ways we have slight rules here. I mean, not a lot of rules,
yeah,
but
rules? Are we within the rules right now?
We are totally within the rules. But I mean, if someone started pulling the heads off the flowers, which I also think is not a very nice thing to do in a park, but there's no one to monitor that or anything.
In a garden?
In a park.
In a park, right.
But in a garden, oh God.
Welcome, this is Talkaoke. Talk about the difference between a park and a garden, and even the garden owner herself is struggling. Yeah, go on, Tommy. We'll come back to you.
A garden is your backyard, which you own within your environment. So, I lived in Berkshire for many years, so I've always had a garden.
Yeah.
And I had Winter Great Park. So a park and a garden are completely different.
Okay, so there is a distinct difference, and if you come from outside of London, maybe that difference is much clearer. But I've overheard you say this is not a funded space, so it's kind of really down to the people who own it, who are the residents around here, to come in and maybe take some.
Board of trustees and everything. It's like it was derelict land originally, and it was bought by the Hoxton Trust together with a few of the buildings down there, and which is how they fund themselves basically. It's through rentals to maintain this space.
So not splitting hairs. This is a public garden.
Well, no, it's a private. It's actually a private garden, open to the public.
Okay, so
we can close it whenever we want. If I decided now to shut the gates, I could just do that.
Stuck inside then. What happened to us? Would we have to climb over the fence?
Are there enough locking parties happening in gardens right now? Maybe we should have some more going on. But this is interesting. Just a notion of this being a private space. Yes, you are welcome, and yes, it's a little bit hidden, so maybe not everybody knows about it, but maybe it's supposed to be like this, because it's actually quite important. This is a private space. I'm going to come to Mikey first, and then.
Well, I guess the council runs the parks, doesn't it? But it don't run the gardens. The gardens are run by individuals, but it's. Who is it owned by then? It doesn't really. Is it public, private? You're saying it's private, but it's owned by the boards, and I don't know. To me, it's just a bit confusing who it actually belongs to.
It belongs to the Hoxton Trust, really. But the Hoxton Trust serves the community, so. You could.
So that's only for the community. A park would be kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Local. I think a garden is a more local thing, like you said. Very clearly, it's more for the local people compared to a park where anyone could go in. And I think that's the main discussion. There's also the funding naturally and the rules, but I think the fact is who is going into or allowed to go into. I think that's.
So is it a question of who is actually allowed to come into the park, or is it about this kind of special ownership of the area. I mean, if now that you know this is a garden, is that kind of changing your experience of coming here all the way from the city?
I wouldn't have considered this as a park anyhow. It's too small for me to be a park. So for me, park is like you said, is more size as well. So I would always consider that as a garden.
Yeah. I mean, listen, guys, this is Talkaoke, and Mikey. Yes, I will come to you, but a very important thing to say about. Yeah.
I think we should park this conversation and move on.
Please.
I wanted to grow this conversation, but let's park it. Okay, right. So, yeah.
I think it's a facility which you guys very kindly provide.
Big up.
And your expectation is to provide something for people that don't have. So whether we call it a garden, a park, a forest, listen, we're splitting hairs.
Right.
But I think it's something that is fantastic that you provide for this community here.
Right. So it's a big up this green space. Dee, have I overheard you saying something about walking in the park? What did you say?
No, I said the noise here reminded me yesterday. I did a bat walk.
Okay.
Bat walk. Yes. In the Barbican, and they gave us a machine.
Yeah.
And apparently they're here. I never realized that bats are. Sorry, is that of interest to anyone?
No,
yeah. They're not bigger than a nail. They are very small. The wings make it like a hand. And what is very interesting, they have a sound. They are almost blind, but they get their food at night, and it's mainly insect, and it's by sound. So they
Sonic.
It's sonic thing.
Yeah.
So because we won't hear it. So they came with machine and it did this quack, 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 and it's really quack, and you hear them talking to, well, whatever they do. And then suddenly you see something flying, but it's very quick, because it's very small. Something comes. It's quite interesting.
Right, no, it is interesting, and also just made me think there's a whole niche that we should explore, which is the Talkaoke for bats. I mean, sorry, I'm just going to bring other people into conversation, Tommy, because I know you've got lots of thought. But I mean, have you ever considered? I mean, did you know much about bats? I mean, have you ever considered just experiencing the world with your eyes closed? Has that ever occurred to you?
I'm not a fan of bats. I'm not going to lie. Vampires, that whole thing, that theme, just gives me anxiety.
Okay.
That gives me stress. I think I had a bat in my garden. I remember during COVID times I was just sitting in my garden chilling, and then I was like, is that a pigeon just flying around? I was like, doesn't look, looks like a bat. I was like, Dad, do we have bats? And he was like, yeah, we do. I was like, oh my god, let me go back inside. So not my vibe. So you're very brave, Dina, for doing it.
Well done.
They go back and forth, and they're usually quite high, so.
Okay, so they don't disturb you, but it's nice to be aware. Okay, Aidan.
You don't get bats in England.
Fruit bats.
No, you get
fruit
bats.
Okay.
Look like a bat.
Okay, we get bats. Okay, listen, people. This has gone like bat crazy. This conversation. Mike, over to you, and I'm gonna.
I think
come
you're gonna
to
have to bat it backwards and forwards quite a lot here. But
Oh God, here we go. Yeah.
But I think the thing about this, we had this guy with a parrot here earlier on. I noticed there's a lot of bird life here. We talked about the importance of animals, and for some reason humans love being around all these other animals. And I think, this is a garden, but are we doing enough with the animal life in this garden? Because people, whenever I'm cycling home and I notice like a fox, and there's a lot of fox action where I live up the road. A lot of foxes here probably as well, and they wake me up in the night with their noises. But I'm much more curious about the foxes than the geraniums or whatever these plants are, over fuchsias. So, I'm wondering if there's a right balance of flora and fauna in this park. I noticed a magpie over there and some pigeons. But could we do with a bit more animal life in here?
Okay, what do you think about this animal life? Very well for the plants. They're pretty kind of placid, and you just plonk them somewhere. Bug hotel, yeah. How much is are you renting on Airbnb? How much is it these days?
Well, I don't know, but we have got bug hotels just down here and at the back there. Bug hotels. They're just like big piles of wood and stuff for the bugs to hide in, basically.
Okay, Priyanka, yeah.
I mean, it's all, if you've got loads of flora and fauna, you will have lots of animals basically.
Wildlife.
So yeah.
Okay, so we've got the bug hotel. Hopefully no bats. I mean, how are you with bugs though, Priyanka?
I'm alright.
You're right.
I'll stay over
You can
here.
bear. Okay, right. Okay, Aidan, you had your hand for like a million years, but it's gone now. The conversation has moved on, Lara.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the bug hotel a little bit, but really what it symbolizes for me and the issue with parks, that was my point from ages ago that I never got to make. And the issue with the parks in London that I have is that there is some space made for the wildlife to be undisturbed, but still most of the parks that I experience, they are a big, in the middle is just a big empty field, and then the trees are on the edges of the park, and there's not much wild bushes or wild spaces where wild animals could hide, or just like bugs or even flowers for the bees. And I live near Hackney Downs, and it's a really nice park, Hackney Downs Park. There's loads of dogs running around. It's really pretty, but there is not much wild bushes around there. And there is one patch where they planted wild flowers for the bees, and it was beautiful in the spring. But I'm thinking, why is it so small? It's such a big park. They could make really at least 4 or 5 bushes of wild flowers for the bees, and they are not doing that. I don't understand why. So people can play football there.
Suggest it.
So is it about taking the initiative and just like bushing it up a little bit, or is it about animals just getting with the program and just like just getting out there? Stop hiding in the bushes. Just, you know, if you're a dog, if you're a fox, if you're a wild bee, just go straight. This park belongs to you. You don't need to hide in green line.
Hoxton Park.
Yeah, what about it?
It's nothing. It's just.
No, there's nothing about it.
There's just no Hoxton Park. Oh no! If you walk down, my GP's down there. Hoxton Park.
Shoreditch Park.
Is it Shoreditch? Is it Shoreditch?
Just for the record, this is Shoreditch Park.
Is it?
Last time you went there?
No.
When was the last time you went there?
About last week. My GP's in Hoxton Road, so all I see is just green fields, some playing fields. There's no.
I'm not talking about Shoreditch Park.
No, if you walk down
So
there.
about Hoxton Park.
Yeah, Hoxton Park. It is
Okay.
Hoxton Park.
About Shoreditch Park. I don't know where Hoxton Park is, but Shoreditch Park is just an empty green space. There's hardly anything there. There's a
similar experience
sculpture.
for you?
There's a sculpture. Okay, there's the adventure playground in the corner, but it's just, most of it is just like, it's like a plain. It's like a tundra. Do you know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
Okay, so what's the problem with parks being empty? Yes, you can.
To correct you all on Shoreditch Park. Shoreditch Park is currently being regenerated, and yes, there is no green space at the moment because it's all being ripped up because they're relaying the turf, and that is the sports pitches, and that's behind Britannia Leisure Centre. They've made 2 wild areas. They're rebuilding the kids' play park. They've put ping pong tables there. There's a new basketball court. There's a lot of stuff happening in Shoreditch Park.
Nothing for the animals.
No, but
Controversial.
it depends what you mean by animals. I mean, depends what you're talking about. I mean, I missed your earlier conversation, but I mean, there's Hackney City Farm down there if you want to see some animals.
Okay, so don't try to put everything in the park. Animals can go in the farm, Tommy. And actually, and what is it with parks? They're just not ready. We want to see parks. We want to see big trees, but they just like refurbishing it. It's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, people want to go into the green. We want to have a bug hotel. But I just want to ask people who have been less vocal. Obviously, you've got a lot of things. No, I mean, like, what do you make of this? I mean, John, do you go to parks? I mean, would you like to see more bats? Would you consider staying in a bug hotel?
I mean, I love parks, and of course I understand that there is sort of distinction, but I think it's very difficult to sort of. I think the main question is how the parks are designed to facilitate relationships and that is relationships with nature and relationships among people. And I think that the important thing is obviously now that the weather is better with climate change, I think we have.
We're just like at the same time.
So people probably would like to stay out longer. So I think it is important to create spaces where people feel comfortable and facilitate relationships. And of course, and as I said, also with nature. So it is a question of creating sort of ecosystems where everybody feels comfortable, and people and the animals.
So it's an interesting point about the relationships and the relationship with nature. I mean, David, do you feel like you're part of an ecosystem of some sort? What kind of ecosystem are you part of, would you say?
I don't know, but basically, I only start recently having walk in the park, so basically
So recently
I'm part of a community group who organize everybody, healthy mind, everybody. They got like one of their session is Thursday morning walk.
Yeah.
So basically we walk around the park, around Crystal Park, and we have a coffee and have a chat and everything. That's very sociable. And otherwise they organize like light fitness activities during the week.
And do you join in with those as well?
I did that in the beginning, but for me it's too. I need something much. It's too extreme for me.
It's extremely nice.
So I do chair yoga instead, which is very nice. So basically it's that. It's like basically, and the socializing is as important as the walk or the physical exercise. It's very nice.
So would you say it's a yes from you? The parks are, like John was saying, they ideally there'll be places where people can make relationships, or with nature, with each other, connect with others, and this is a like across. I know, Priyanka, you have to go, but do give us a final thought. It could be about absolutely anything we discussed, and absolutely anything that we haven't discussed. We talk about sex, we about mental health. We had Positive East guys here. So
what should I say? This is really cool. This is new. Never been to a Talkaoke event.
What kind of subjects are you going to go away thinking, what are you off to do now?
Like, what is a park? And what is a garden? Is that a tree or is it not?
Is it like philosophical? You kind of.
I'm gonna get really wise on that journey to the office. Thank you. Just thank you for this kind of space. It's very unique. So.
You're very welcome, and I like how you chose green jackets to go with this interior of this garden. Just get it right. Thank you, Priyanka. So this is Talkaoke. So we can talk about anything you want. John, you have to go, but before you go, I'm going to give.
I just wanted to say, because I think it's a very good point from John about facilitating conversations and relations between people. I think it's really important, but I think where this garden falls down is apparently, I've read on the sign apparently there is a no alcohol rule, but I actually think that. I think that actually the alcohol in this society that we live in, for better or for worse, is the way that people soften up and make new friends. I was just in the Howl at the Moon pub just there the other day, and I made some new friends. So I think that alcohol is an important lubricant when it comes to and certainly in the parks that I go to, I like to have a little drink in the park.
And where are your friends met in a pub now? I mean, was it like a friendship just for one night, or was it long-lasting friendship?
I don't know, because they said they were going to come here to this thing, but none of them have actually come. So we'll see. They've got an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes.
I understand. Okay, so what about this idea of like alcohol? I mean, is that something that should be more kind of allowed, or just not more allowed, just in general allowed? John, would you like to be sitting? Would you prefer to be sitting here with a pint and feel legal?
I definitely would.
There you go.
I don't mind, but I think it is a question of whatever everyone feels more comfortable with. If someone is more comfortable with a pint or with a coffee or whatever, I think we should allow people to choose how they want to feel more comfortable. So, and I'm sorry I have to go, but this is my first Talkaoke.
Yeah, fantastic.
And it's great, and I think I really.
This is that's where you can we can find more Talkaokes, obviously.
So and I think we can really make use of these kind of approach and space for many more projects to come.
Well, absolutely, we're obviously up for it, and yeah, thank you so much for stopping by and getting involved and putting so much into the conversation. Enjoy the rest of today, whatever you choose to do, and I also appreciate the green. Thank you. You got the memo that we're going to be in a garden. So thank you, John. Okay, so yeah, like I said, this is Talkaoke. Thank you and goodbye. We can take it in any direction we want to, Laura. I know you had your hand up, so let's hear from you.
Yes, in terms of the alcohol and where it's legal to drink it or not, I think London has it figured out pretty well in most of the spaces. I'm from Poland. In Poland, you're not allowed to drink alcohol on the streets or in any of the parks.
1 second, Laura. I'll just explain to these people over there. This is a pop-up talk show. You're welcome to come and join in. Did you know this is a garden? There's a video, but you don't have to be on camera. This is the thing. You can just chat or listen.
Yeah, I can move the camera so you're not on it.
Yeah, it's for children, it's for everyone. Come and stop by for a few minutes.
We would like to hear what the children have to say.
Yeah, talking about parks.
Come in.
Yeah, come in, this way or the other way.
I wanted to say a park and a garden should be for families. I mean, it's very important to have very early stage that children get this, like you said, the relationship with nature and so on. So I think park or gardens is quite important in children's education.
But is there a particular way in which garden or a park should be to make it more welcoming to families, or is there a danger that children may wreck the park?
No, at the contrary, you have to maybe make them participate and explain first of all the purpose of a park and what the park brings to the climate change nowadays, which is a big topic, but also just to say for everyday life, you know, to explain, like with the farm thing, they explain how the food comes, they explain how the plants that you see there, you grow potatoes, how it comes to your table, and maybe make more activities with them, I mean, which you probably do, exactly. Most
gardening for kids?
Do that. Yeah. Sorry?
Gardening for kids?
Yeah, but a lot of gardens do that, I mean, you know, or parks even, I don't know, because we are not going to go into the distinction again.
You know what happened last time.
But I think that this kind of activity early on, and you know, is quite important.
So yet again, it's about growing that knowledge and growing that kind of idea of the park is a resource, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you can benefit from it, whether you get it or not, because you may be too small to get it. It's about getting involved and participating. Aidan, what are your views on this? I mean, what do you think about the idea of a garden being open to all ages, or would you limit ages?
I would say open to all ages, but I think if you can drink responsibly, it should be allowed. Simply because I've been to 8 different countries, this is including the United States as well, only one of which I am not legal to drink in, and it is the States. Every other country I've been in...
Sorry, Aidan, it's inevitable.
Every other country I've been in...
Sound effects pad.
Drinking is something that's so common, and it's done in a way that is responsible. You go to the States and you have people that are drinking in college when they're not legally allowed to, and it gets out of hand. I've even seen it when I've been in other countries because I'm studying with other students from the States, and they drink out of hand because it's legal here. But if it was legal in the States at age of 18, I think the lowest I've seen it in the countries I've been in was 16 in Spain, I think it is. I think if it was 18, or maybe even a little lower, you would definitely see benefits from it rather than disadvantages.
Okay, so let people drink early, and then they will just don't make it special.
Where you drink wine as a child, I mean, you know, it's nothing extraordinary. So you know, they don't come this binging drink because.
So do you agree with Aidan that perhaps if things were, I mean, maybe alcohol is one of the examples, but maybe if things which are maybe illegal for certain ages or in general, if they were made legal, people would just like relax about it and they just wouldn't go overboard.
But they can't even drink coffee. Coffee is not even in America after a certain age, which, you know, is considered also as a drug.
Okay, so coffee is a drug. Tommy, I'm going to come to you, then to you, Aidan, but I want to get your thoughts as well about kids, parks, alcohol, yoga after a couple of these.
But then, if you look at the French culture,
yeah,
they're quite young. Even, I mean, 6, 7, 8, they drink down watered down wine.
Right.
So you don't get in France. I mean, you probably would do if you're a university student or you go in college. They all get binge drinking, but they come from an age, and you don't have fights in Paris. I mean, London has a massive alcohol problem, and I think the whole of Europe. I've lost 2 friends for alcohol.
Okay, so maybe London is actually a bit of a problematic. Yeah.
But England.
Right, England. Okay,
England.
right.
I mean, you see the. I'm really sorry. You see the Brits go to Spain. You see the Brits go and they all get drunk, completely trust together. They've got Ibiza. They get into fights. And they're just binge drinkers. You know? But when you have a culture like in France, you have kids having dinner or lunch with watered down wine. So that culture is completely different.
So you've given us quite a few points there. So one is about France. I mean, is it true the kids get or Europe? Okay. I mean, if anyone's got any views on France, maybe they know anything about that country. I don't know. It's possible. Is it true? Kids drink watered down wine. Is it okay? People are just chill out. Second point that you've put to us is England has got a drinking problem. Maybe it's not so for the outsider. Maybe from your perspective, Aidan, coming from America, is a bit the opposite. Actually, people are more chilled, but maybe it's just depending on where you kind of put your ear. I'm going to come to Aidan. 1 second, Tommy.
I would say, where was I going to go? From what I've seen, it's really not that bad here in the UK compared to the United States. I mean, seriously? Surprisingly, no, because it is done in a rather responsible manner. If it is introduced young in a responsible manner where you are taught how to consume alcohol responsibly, it will not become as big of a problem. Where if it is withheld from you, it's kind of like this
more tempting maybe, or
this will be very controversial possibly, but it's kind of like weed, marijuana in the States. It's something that was illegal and people would go out, they'd still find ways to buy it. And now that some states have been starting to make it legal, people are becoming less stressed about it and less, I shouldn't say stressed, but less like...
More relaxed.
Yeah, more relaxed because there's ways for them to get it, and it's just done. If it's done responsibly, it's safe.
Yeah, okay, so it's about safety as well. If you legalize something, it just becomes a little safer, and it's not a taboo. Mike, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to come to people who haven't spoken.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to have problems with substances because we like altering. I mean, me and my friends.
The ones from the pub there.
Yeah, exactly. We like altering our minds. But I do agree with Aidan's point, and I think when it comes to other drugs, like, for example, MDMA is a very good party drug, but when there are deaths that are caused from that, it's because it's been made in a back room rather than in a proper pharmaceutical way. So, and it's the impurities that actually kill people.
Okay, so talking about it's D, isn't it? Dina, okay.
I think cost is also an element, for if it's more expensive, people kind of maybe drink less, but I'm not so sure they go in debt just to have a pint.
I mean, what about? Sorry, can I just kind of ask you as well, Dina, just before we come to you, Tommy? No, but are there any kind of? I don't mean necessarily drugs, but are there kind of things which that you enjoy when you go to a party or whatever? Would you?
Drinker, so I don't need to drink to be. Joyful or whatever. Yeah. I mean, when I see some people, they drink and then they come out of the shell. I mean, I don't have that problem. So,
so you don't.
Because I've been used to being Belgian, that we drink. Yes, it's not a big thing. You want a glass of wine, you have a glass of wine. You want etc. But you don't necessarily need to do 3 glasses of wine.
Right. So that's the Belgian perspective as well, yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Continental, where drinking is not such a big thing. I mean, it's part of the culture.
But you also touched on something very interesting, which is coming out of the shell. Maybe you're never in your shell, so you don't have to come out of it.
English, definitely.
Yeah, and you're not English, so maybe that helps. So maybe being English kind of makes you a bit more shelled in the shell. I'm going to come to Laura quickly. What do you think of this or something else?
I think that the issue with people binge drinking and any addictions on any of the substances, I think main reason for it would be mental health, because you do it for some kind of issues that you have internally. So again, if there would be more pressure on the proper mental health knowledge and just supporting your well-being of mental health, maybe there would be less addictions. Like, who knows? This is my opinion, that it would be probably help.
I'm going to come to you, Max, and then I'll come to you, Dina. Yeah.
Sorry, just trying to connecting to what Mikey said. And
very good.
Laura.
You're going to get this.
So about the drugs that cause the most harm are drugs that aren't, that are impure, basically. And then talking about mental health again, and then I was just wondering what everyone thinks about the whole, at the moment there's a lot of talk about microdosing and stuff, about, microdosing. So it's been proven that things like very small doses of LSD, magic mushrooms, so psilocybin, can increase your mental health, basically make you feel less depressed, whatever, help with stress, anxiety, all those things. And and actually it's probably more beneficial than alcohol by far, because alcohol's probably the worst of them, actually, worst of the drugs, I would say, I think, maybe.
Okay, so
maybe. And going also back to what Mikey said about the garden and alcohol, I mean, I mean, if it was up to me, I would let people in here drink. However, because there are loads of kids and a real wide range of people in here, it can get, if people drink too much, it can get out of hand, and it's a shame, because we can't really monitor it that much, and the garden gets trashed, basically. So yeah, anyway, a few things in there.
You've been a few things. I'm just going to quickly recap, and maybe David, feel free to join in if you want to. Yes, go on.
Just on the binge drinking, there's also social pressure.
Okay, you feel there is?
Well, I don't feel. Don't put it on me. When I make a comment, it's a general comment.
Yeah, no, that's
what I
clear.
mean when she said, with mental health, it's not just mental health, it's social pressure also, making people, like, when people start going to university, this binge drinking is just a social pressure. They might not be interested in drinking, but because everybody does, and next pint and next pint. But, and just to show that they can do it, it's sorry.
But that goes together with the peer pressure, goes with the mental health, in my opinion, because if you are self-conscious and you're not feeling good about yourself, and that's what mental health being is, you want to feel better, more at ease, or you just want to be, like you said, or you're just peer pressure by your friends. If you're in a bad mental state, it will be easier for other people to impact you.
Yes, no, I agree with that. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't have to be because you have a problem mentally or you are depressed that you want to be in a group. You go to university. You want to belong. It's part of the thing. It's like going to a party. It's part. You should be funny, enjoy it. So
it's a thing in society. I don't know if other people feel it too, but there is something like peer pressure. We've got a new face around the table. What's your name? Agat, welcome to Talkaoke. It's a pop-up talk show. We've got Mikey, we've got Max, we've got Dina, we've got Laura, we've got Aidan, Tommy, and I'll come to you. Don't worry. And we've got David and Margot. So I'm just going to very quickly recap what you said, and then we'll see which direction we want to take it. I know you've got your hand up, and I know I have to come to you, Tommy. But we were talking about if you knew there's something like microdosing, which is illegal. It's legal. It's illegal. Would you get yourself into trouble? Sorry, Max. I'm gonna start again. Sorry, I'm gonna start again. Would you do something illegal if you knew this is good for your mental health? We were talking about microdosing. I don't know if people have experienced that. If you have, amazing. Let us know. Second thing is social pressures. Do we just succumb to social pressures and do stupid things like get completely smashed just because everyone else around us does it? Also, is it about drinking culture in different countries? In France, is kids drink Belgique as well. Also, people drink when they're much younger, and it's not taboo. So people just more chilled about it. So these are kind of the things. We're talking about garden and a park, but I will come to you, Tommy, because you'll kill me otherwise. No, you wouldn't, because you're nice, honey.
Thank you. But if you walk down 10 minutes down that road on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's debaucherous.
What's happening there? Asking for a friend.
It's just, I work in Old Street and I finish work at 11. I come out and everyone is completely smashed. So this goes back after this previous conversation about binge drinking. There's queues and queues for pubs and clubs, and people walk out 11, 12 o'clock and are wasted.
So do you...
And I just think that's why I was saying that English drinking culture is absolutely dreadful. And I'm one of them, hands up. I used to drink a lot, but I don't drink much anymore. But if I go out with a friend, we have a few pints. As my friend from Belgique, she said, "Oh, no, we don't. You don't have those problems. Perhaps you might, but then, but Old Street is awful."
So can I just link a couple of things up here? So should we be standing in Old Street with flyers for Hoxton Gardens saying, okay, you obviously are going through something because you're smashed. You should go and chill out in a garden where there's no drinking, because it's not about that actually. You should just come here and just think about life, be in the presence of trees, and just maybe think why you're drinking so much. Maybe we should be flyering Old Street, Max. And having.
But I don't know. I mean, I think sex has probably got a lot to do with it. Why people are getting smashed. But why? I think people are going out because they want to score. They want to get laid, and then they go to. Have you been down Shoreditch High Street on a Saturday night? It's, but I mean, is it a mental health issue? Is it just like a
recreations?
Yeah, is it just part of a rite of passage? I don't know.
Okay, what do we think about this? I mean, Max, do you have any views? And also, Agathe, you come back, yeah?
I mean, talking from personal experience, I mean, I used to drink a serious amount when I was a student, and it's mainly because I'm inherently quite a shy person, and I just wanted to. No, and I felt like I just really, very shy, and I needed to fit in, so, and it got totally out of hand, and a lot of my mates too, some of them got into real trouble through drinking, but.
Did you? I mean, is Shoreditch? I mean, do you see the same kind of issue with Shoreditch High Street? Is it similar here? I mean, when you see people who are kind of drinking.
Well, there might be something just fundamentally wrong with. With I don't know, with our society basically, and the kids grow up feeling that they've got to I mean, my nephew is only in his mid-20s, and I would say he's probably an alcoholic. I don't know. He joined the Navy and he went in as an officer to do his officer training, and he got kicked out because he was drinking every night. And he's young guy.
So is it about the society? Is the pressure coming not just from people around us? It actually is.
No, I think it's bigger. I think it's bigger now. I think when I was younger, it was mainly a kind of shy thing, wanting to fit in. But now I think there's other things. There's other stresses and anxieties and people just want a release from it, And so they go out and they get wasted, basically.
Okay, and that still is maybe in certain. I don't know, times of life is still a cool thing to do. I don't know why people get smashed. I mean, David, do you have any views on this? I mean,
I do get smashed from time to time. Now, I was going to mention, I just came back from Canada, So North America.
Canada.
Yeah, I was in a little town called Kitchener.
Right.
And obviously, I did struggle to find alcohol there. You can find bars, so you can go to bars if you like there. But otherwise, the sale of alcohol is managed by the government. So they got the monopoly to sell alcohol. So you can only buy alcohol from 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening in their shop. And there is like few beer shops. But basically, the same. The opening time is very reduced. So basically, you cannot get smashed as you have to plan it if you want to get smashed, and you have to get smashed indoors at home.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is all those preventions, alcohol drinking preventions. On the other hand, they just passed the legalizations of the cannabis. So when I found being walking, I had more opportunity to buy cannabis than to buy alcohol. Things I find very funny. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I do get smashed. I was smashed last night, so I start the liquor now.
Yeah, but you managed to kind of overcome your hangover
and come here.
Well, actually, we're talking. Welcome back. Things have changed here a bit. I'm inside.
I mean, we're talking about stigmas, but like getting smashed or saying I just enjoy getting wasted is a bit of a stigma. You know, it's a bit of a taboo. You can't really. David said that, but you know, I would have to concur. I'd be brave and just stand up with you and say I like getting smashed as well. But my issue with alcohol is that it's the next day you feel terrible. So, I mean, actually, there's this guy called David Nutt that's developed a new type of alcohol. It's not alcohol; it's a different chemical.
That's nuts.
It's nuts. It's not made from nuts. It's made from a huge pharmaceutical industrial process, but. It's going to come out hopefully it'll come out one day, but it's like alcohol that you can drink where you get drunk, but you only have some of the effects of alcohol. You don't have the hangover. Yeah.
Hello, come and join us. This is Talkaoke, talking about alcohol at the moment.
Do you enjoy drinking?
No.
Me and David do, but yeah.
I'm a cheap date.
Okay, well, brilliant.
We'll definitely come and sit down.
Well, and dating as well. Come and join us.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got.
Meant to be somewhere.
That's fine. We as well. We're going to only be here for. Yeah, exactly. So let's just get a round of names.
Mikey.
Louise. Sam. Ramon.
Laura.
Aiden. Tom.
David.
And I'm Margot, and this is Talkaoke. So at the moment we're talking about alcohol. Is it a bit stigmatizing, kind of coming out onto the streets smashed? Why do people get smashed? Is it mental health? Is it just like, I'm just enjoying getting smashed? What are you going to do about it? Yes, Ron?
So, I know a guy, I think 14 when I met him, was on PlayStation, right? And he was about 32, and every time he joined our game, he was wasted, he was smashed. And he told us how the reason he's alcoholic is because he watched his mom commit suicide and jump in front of a bus. So I feel like mental health might be one of the reasons as to why people get smashed like that.
Okay, so that's we have been talking about this. Lara was talking about the link between mental health and being smashed, but also we're talking about if drinking was legalized earlier, like it is in France, people would just get over it, get it out of the system. Maybe it's because it's slightly taboo, taking drugs, slightly taboo. That's why people do it in the corner, away from sight, but then they, it's not safe the way people do it. I mean, what do you think about this? Remind me your name.
Louise.
Yeah. What do you think about this idea of people doing things illegally because maybe it's just a bit more exciting?
Well, yeah, they create a market. Nothing's done on without a purpose behind it, in my opinion. I'm a bit of a conspiracy person. So I think that everything that you see happening, it's been planned. It's not just by chance that it's happened, because we're feeding the big bosses. So they have to create a demand, and they have to create something that generates an income for them. Because if it wasn't profitable, it would have been smashed. And if the big boys, including the prime ministers and all them above, weren't profiting, it wouldn't be happening. So they've created the market for it, really. So, and they, in my opinion, they prey on people's weaknesses. If it's depression or if people want to drink, fine. But I think when it gets out of control,
and you can no longer control it, it takes you over, that you have to go out. Like, for me, people ridiculed me for years because, oh, you've gone out and you're happy, and then suddenly they think, oh, what have you had to drink? And I said, oh, juice. And they can't believe that I'm jumping up and down, looking mad on juice.
People,
but so really, it's and sometimes there's a lot of pressure, I think, particularly on younger people to conform. That you have to, in order to go out, then you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to have a good time. But you can be perfectly sober and still have a good time.
Okay, so thank you for this. So is there pressure? I mean, I'm looking to you because you look considerably younger than maybe me. Everyone else obviously is looking very young. But I mean, do you feel pressurized? Yeah. Are you feeling pressurized to doing things? Also, we're talking about, you know, maybe it's actually some people in power who are kind of orchestrating these things. You mentioned prime ministers. I mean, could we trust Liz Truss to be in charge of this kind of thing? Is she just a bit?
The ones whose bankroll is being fed by, you know, they're out in suburbia and they're condemning people and saying, oh, look at these people taking drugs and drinking, but who is bringing it in? Who's
so maybe
you know, who's banking it?
Yeah, okay, so maybe it's all kind of linked to profit. Laura, you've got
well, they go in Parliament, they're drunk, they're stoned for most of the time, and they're passing legislation. You think they don't know what time of day it is. They're in the bar.
Maybe they're just really busy working. Just you have to be on coke to run the country. Maybe I don't know. Laura.
Anyone want tea or coffee?
Tea, herbal tea, please. Any?
Have you got herbal teas?
Yeah, you know what? They're just behind there. Just behind the TV. This the silver one is turmeric. I don't know how to say it. Turmeric.
Yeah, I've got a bit of ache.
Yeah, get this one. Sam, not Sam. Max. Hello, welcome. This is Talkaoke. We've got tea, we've got biscuits, and we've got a conversation. Right now, the conversation is about tea. So we're just going to park it here.
Is tea a drag?
Right, people, select your teas in an orderly fashion. Laura, over to you.
Yes, I find very interesting what Louise said about a little bit conspiracy theories and also what the government is telling us to kind of play with our emotions and our mind, and it's LSD because originally LSD was they were doing tests on LSD to use it as a weapon, and then in the States, and then it kind of got away from the labs and regular people started using it as well, and they had a great time, and the government didn't like that, so they start spreading those horrible information saying that LSD is super dangerous and it causes death, and it's it should be just super illegal, and it got to the point that even testing LSD became illegal, and only recently, I think it's either Germany or Belgium, finally got how you call it, like they've been allowed to start testing LSD on people again since the 50s or 60s. So because it was so demonized, and again in microdosing it can help people go through PTSD or other mental issues. So and just because it was demonized and there was no testing done on it, like maybe, I don't know.
So I'm also interested in this idea of like, why did some countries get the license to test the drugs and some didn't? What were the criteria? Was UK not trusted with testing LSD on people? I don't know, but yeah. So maybe the minute something becomes profitable, it becomes particular interest to the government, and maybe we should just be aware of that. And
I mean, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but I do think it's very hypocritical that there are so much drug taking amongst politicians, yet they are quite happy. You know, Michael Gove admitted to cocaine use, and they found coke in, everywhere in the House of Parliament. Yeah. There's no consideration to change the law on drug use. I think it's very hypocritical.
Thank you, Mikey. Aidan, have you got? We've got a view from Aidan, and then we will come to you, Dina. Yeah.
This is probably a stupid question, but
we love all the kinds of questions.
Being from the States, I'm just curious. how do, like, a lot of our drugs in the States have to come in from over the borders, because unless it's hard drugs like meth that can be made in a lab, we don't really have access to them. How are they coming into the UK, with the UK being an island?
Does anybody have any questions? How do drugs actually come to the UK if it's an island? Yeah, Tommy's got all the answers. He's here until 5 o'clock. You can come and ask him anything. I'm joking. No, I know.
So,
but this is a question. How do, and I think it kind of links back to your question about hypocrisy. How come politicians are doing drugs, and it has been evidenced, I don't know where, has it been evidenced somewhere? Yes, it has. And yet the whole conversation about drugs is made taboo. It's it's demonized, as Laura was saying. Like, what is with these double standards? Can we call it out? Do we have the power to call it out as just ordinary people sitting around Talkaoke table doing our daily stuff?
Try to, but whether they'll listen, because they're the ones who's bringing it in. The diplomats, they've got contacts as to who they close their eyes to, who brings in drugs, who brings in all sorts of illegal things. So when they want something in, they allow it in.
Okay, so maybe it's about also just like turning a blind eye to some special deliveries and that kind of stuff. Maybe that's
from it. Yeah, they're profiting from it, and so what they need to do to take the attention away from them, they need to demonise a certain group of people. And it tends to be the lower working class, people from ethnic minorities. So they tend to get a harsher if they go to the court system, they get a harsher sentence. Whereas somebody from maybe who's deemed to be a middle class, upper class background, they're not going to get treated the same way.
So it is actually,
as opposed to. So there's a lot of issues to go along
different
with class, different layers,
and singling out communities because maybe they're just easier target.
That attention on them,
attention,
and it keeps it away. I mean, there was a report some years ago, and it was saying that in I think it was Hampstead, that there's regular drugs parties with sort of hard drugs, people lining up cocaine, all sorts of things. There's judges, there's lawyers, there's the people who you deem to be in the top parts of the community are actually doing it. And they're coming back the next day, maybe to court, and punishing the people who aren't from that background. Of course.
Okay, right. So yes, Mikey.
Well, I've got a friend who's a judge. And she doesn't actually take any hard drugs, but like she says, yeah. But when you go to a party, everyone they're doing drugs in all the other rooms, and then when I'm not going to say her name, when she comes along, they're like put it all away so she doesn't have to see it. But I find it a completely absurd situation. Not in her house, but in places that she's invited to. I find it an absurd situation. I think actually, in my experience, it's actually almost the norm to have drugs in a recreational situation. I don't think they do it. I think they're actually good because they're less harmful than alcohol, and they're pro-social. A lot of these drugs, and my favourites being MDMA and psilocybin, which is a mushroom drug. I've tried the microdosing, and I think it's got, although there are some side effects which I think need to be discussed. I think it's a very positive thing. So it's just, to me it seems completely out of line with where we are as a society, that we've still got these laws.
Why do you need to take them?
Yeah.
Huh? What do you mean you don't? You take them.
No, you just need to.
Yeah, but why do you feel the need? Maybe I misexpress it. Why do you feel the need you have to take them, or you take them without the have to?
Okay, is it about need to take them? Is it? Yeah.
Try it. I would try it. Try the mushroom. Try mushrooms especially. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Once or maybe every other week or something like that. Every other week, I try something. Could be mushrooms. Could be. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Especially magic mushrooms. I think are really nice for anyone. Maybe not somebody that's got a big mental health disorder like schizophrenia, but everyone else, I think it would be a really, really useful thing to try. Really fun as well, and mind expanding.
So it seems to me like you can take. One sec. What you just made me think of is like, yes, take drugs if you want to. You don't have to, but when you do, or if you do, know what kinds of drugs they are and whether they might be good for you or not. And maybe is this a knowledge that kind of exists out there? Is a bit like. Because it seems to me like it takes away fun from the recreational side of drugs. You have to do a whole bunch of research before you can actually take them. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe is it a generational thing? I mean, are drugs discussed like where you guys are? I mean, is that something that you
can take the mic?
Yeah, you should.
Alright, so I have some friends, and I would say that they're weed addicts. Like they're addicted to weed. They can't go to me like, oh, I've gone 2 days without weed. Like that's only 2 days. That's not, and. I say the problem with it is if you want to smoke weed every single day, that's like alright, whatever, that's your life. But then they'll ask you money, they'll say I have no money for food, I have no money for travel, I have no money for a cab home. But if you didn't spend money on weed every single day or money on vapes, you would have that money. I know a friend, he goes to his girlfriend's house all the time and she has to call him a cab home and pay for that, even though I'm not trying to imply gender roles, but he as the man should have enough money to sustain himself. Yet he relies on his younger girlfriend to pay money for his cabs, and then he won't put in money for his cabs, but he'll chip in money for weed or vapes and cigarettes. So I feel like if you want to do drugs, that's whatever, but get your priorities right, because when you become addicted to drugs, yeah, that's it really.
And I think you made an interesting link by, your choices are your choices, but what about people around you? And particularly if you're in a relationship, can that impact on your relationship in any way? Should you be more considerate about it? I mean, I don't know, this is Talkaoke, so we can take in any direction we want to. I mean, do we feel like, Mikey, do you feel like you've got your priorities right? Are drugs very expensive now?
I spend hardly any money on drugs, I have to say, personally. Although I think,
Oh, there's wet.
All right.
This is wait. Sorry, just biscuit.
Yeah, I'm addicted to digestive biscuits as well, but not wet ones. But no, what was I saying?
So you were saying, are you getting your financial priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not spending a lot of money. Things like mushrooms you can grow yourself as well. Yeah. Although that is, I just want to say, kids, that's illegal. So
it's a class.
But you can do it, to me, it's I was.
It's the same as what's the other drug? The one that for if you have arthritis and so on. The plants. What is it?
Cannabis.
Cannabis. It's the same thing. I think it's now acceptable or not. I don't know where do we stand on this.
California. It's legal in California. No, you can have medicated cannabis.
Okay.
I think in England now, but it's legal. It's legal in California. Obviously Amsterdam, fantastic city.
It is a fantastic city, beautiful architecture, isn't it?
I went for the tulips and the clops. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Has anyone been to Amsterdam? Yeah.
I'm sure you.
Views. What did you enjoy the most? Was it the drugs?
I speak Flemish, so I mean, and etc. I know.
So you enjoy the chat?
It's next door, so when we went to the seaside, you just walk along, and you're in Holland and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and with the tea or whatever you call it.
Are Flemish people a bit more chilled out about drugs?
But it is quite. Well, I'm not a drug taker, so I already told you I'm not a drinker either. So I drink normally, but not really. So I'm not so concerned about that. But I think that because I make it freer, they probably have less people problems. But maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, Mikey, you.
I mean, Dina, you're asking if it's acceptable. I think it's better to ask the people around this table and in this garden, do they accept it? Do we, we shouldn't be, if it's acceptable, then do we around here accept drug use, whether it's illegal or not?
I think it's an excellent point, and we should go around the table to check. Do people accept drugs? Do you accept people taking drugs? I'm going to start with you, Tommy, and going. I'm not going to go around the table. I'm going to go in a random direction. Yeah. Accept people taking drugs.
I mean, I think recreational drugs, in as Mike does, or I used to, but I don't. I mean, for these young lads, the biggest problem with is in the States is painkillers. So if you think about that, painkillers, the coke, the etc. So I think if it affects, I mean, there's collateral damage there. If you, I mean, I know a couple of dope heads even from school, because they smoke every day, every morning, and they just become
similar situation.
Yeah, and they just become completely numb, and then just not. I just thought to myself, well, you know, I mean, I've taken a few spliffs here and then, recreationally, yes, but depends on your environment, collateral damage. If it affects his friend's girlfriend, he can't pay money for food, and then, you know, I'm not here to judge, but I do what I think is right, and if I don't overstep the mark, I think sometimes you do, and you will do, because that's how you learn.
So for you, it's fine if you take drugs, but think about people around you and the collateral damage.
And also your health.
And your health. Okay, thank you. I'm going to come to you, Dina. Do you accept
Similar to what he said. I mean, you know, everybody has his own life and etc. As long as you kind of consider your own life and you don't do harm to others, it's already closer to the acceptance.
Okay.
But like, you know, a lot of people depend on others in order to be able to get the drugs and take the drugs. And that's how crime develops. First of all, it's a pricing also of the drugs. I think that the drugs are much too expensive, and the fact that they are not allowed makes it even more tempting to appealing and etc. So
I see. So yeah, so all these considerations, but essentially you're not against people doing what they do.
If it's their own life, if it's their choice, as long as they don't affect others. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, I'm going to come to you. I mean, would you be sitting here if people were doing drugs? Would you mind?
I wouldn't. I don't like smoking. I don't like drugs. My son smokes. We've had a huge argument with it. And, oh, Mum, you're old-fashioned, thought good. But in my home, this is what my rules are. I don't like people smoking cigarette anyway. If I'm outside somewhere, but if in my home, that's where I am. So I think if people want to do it, knowing what the risks are, because obviously it always affects people in different ways. But you can have like cannabis, but you don't have to smoke it. People can use it as a herb. They can drink it as a tea. So if somebody was making it as a tea here or cooking it in food, I wouldn't have an objection. I just don't like the smell of it.
Okay.
But if they want to do it, I think it's fine for them as long as they're aware, and hopefully what they're getting is the proper stuff. It's not mixed with anything that they think they're getting one thing and it's actually laced with other harmful products.
Okay, so is there awareness but also a context of where you're doing it, and if it's your home, you want to kind of reserve the right to say no to smokers. What about you, Sam? I mean, like, what do you think about this? Like, would you object to people taking drugs? What about the mate who's smoking weed? Would you like cross them out of your friends list?
Well, me personally, I don't like smoking, vaping, even drinking. I get on a social occasion, you can like have a drink with friends and things like that. But drugs for me, it's just, it's probably swayed my views slightly. Like, my dad's been an alcoholic when I was born, and he's been probably 3 years now since he hasn't drank, and I remember the difference of him. He would have been all over the place, he would have been saying stuff, so that's probably affected me, how like sort of put me off drinking and things like drugs and things like that. But that's mostly because of my dad. And yeah, but it's like my sister, she went over a park and she tried just a bit of weed and had a bit of alcohol. Like, I suppose it's like everybody says, like with drugs, you can try it, but obviously, like, be careful, like, consider your health and be careful about the people around you. So, but me personally, I don't think I want to ever try it. No.
But if this was a drinking park, for instance, would you object to it? Or?
If people were having alcohol and things like that.
Yeah, if this garden, it's not a park, sorry, we learned earlier, it's a garden, it's not a park. So, guys, with respect. No, but because at the moment what's happening here, it's people are not really supposed, they're not allowed to have alcohol legally. But if people were, no, okay, so people are just not welcome with alcoholic drinks here. But if they were, would you still come here?
yeah, it doesn't affect me what the people are doing. But if, for example, he came up to me, said, "Oh," and started creating like a nuisance or whatever, then yeah. But as long as it's by themselves, they're controlled with it. But that's another thing. A whole other topic is drink driving and things like that. Like what you've seriously got to be careful of. Like who's
riding a bike.
Oh,
yeah, drink riding.
I think you're onto something here, Sam. I think we're gonna park this drink driving conversation. Second time we're parking something, but we can come back to that obviously. But yeah, just quickly, David, do you object to drugs and other kind of things? Would you be sitting here if people were shooting up?
Not okay, shooting up. Anyway, there is this whole thing about having a wet, like social places, so basically places where you can have drugs in a safe environment and stuff like that. So I will promote that definitely, and yeah, I will promote the whole legalizations of all drugs in order to stop the mafia. Kind of stuff like that, because the people who are benefiting from it are more the drug dealer rather than the drug user.
So it's a bit like what you were saying.
Yeah.
So it's about the financial gain, isn't it? Yeah.
It's higher up the ladder because those guys who are dealing with it haven't got the aeroplane, haven't got the yacht, haven't got the transport to bring it in. And when you look at the people who have actually been held because they're importing drugs, they're not these little boys or girls on the street.
It's something bigger than that.
It's much bigger. So while we're focusing on them, the big boys are allowed to do, or the big women are allowed to do what they want.
Okay, so again, this is kind of like different layers. But just going back to you, David. So you're saying, David's saying that okay, you should be able to take drugs in a safe environment because actually that would be just a better thing to do. Don't prevent it, but make it illegal.
Don't make it illegal first, because basically that will encourage people to do it because it's illegal, and basically promote legalization of all drugs in order to basically limitate the bad side of drug taking.
Yeah. Thank you, David. Okay, would you be still sitting here if people were doing drugs?
Oh yeah, one thing I'm gonna say this quick because we have to go to lesson. But they take drugs and then their life just goes downhill. They eventually, I remember there's a lot of homeless people around Hoxton Station. There was this one homeless woman. She had a messed up eye, and she wouldn't just ask you for money. She would like pressure you, like, "Wow, you're so poor. You can't even give me £1. Are you this poor?" Like, whoa. And then they'll say to you, "Oh, can I call my cousin? Can I call this?" But they want to call a drug dealer. I feel like a lot of people, just by doing drugs, they end up homeless. So I feel like drugs, they clearly provide more of a disadvantage than an advantage. So I feel like they should just be cut out completely. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and grab a card as well, because we do pop up here, there, and everywhere. Mike is on the cards there. Thanks so much for stopping by. Enjoy the classes. What classes are you going to now? What lessons? You're cold. Are you off? All right, fine. Grab a card. Well, come again. We'll see you later. Take care.
You probably because I came with.
With Priyanka. Right. So we are in touch with Priyanka. We are based in Poplar, actually. We're going to do another one of these on the 27th of October, and then on the 24th of November, we're going to be in Shoreditch. So you may have to walk through the boards to Shoreditch. No, I'll tell you where we will be. We will be at Rich Mix. It's a kind of art venue. She will tell you. But yeah.
So what do you do with this?
Right. As you're going, Dina, can you just give us your final thoughts? Anything you're going to go away with? Ponce final.
No, there's not really. I thought it was an interesting conversation, and I like the format.
Yeah.
It's just that after a while the conversation goes on and on and on, and you don't see the end of it. So
we've been here for 5 years.
Exactly.
5 hours,
etc. But I thought the themes were quite interesting.
Yeah. I mean, are there any themes in particular that you thought, okay, that's actually really worth getting more?
Well, I think the drug is a problem. It's something that you are not going to solve on this table. I mean, like you said, we have to start where whoever brings them in and who makes the money out of it, like everything else. I mean, it's political, and that is a major problem, because I think if drugs were kind of easily accessible, probably people wouldn't take them so much. They would just take a little bit just for the fun. But they wouldn't get hooked on it, and it's only the ones who can afford it.
So maybe we should do more like a regular session here, how to dismantle governments, Talkaoke, how to put things right, just to kind of keep on chipping away and try to change the situation. But thank you, Dina. Okay. So many, yeah.
I was reading this article about sugar.
Oh, yeah.
And how addictive sugar is and how much health damage white sugar particularly can do. So it relates to what you were saying, but people don't. Yeah. So like with sugar, I mean, even though we're all addicted to the biscuits, it was saying the health issues that it can help contribute towards Alzheimer's, cancers, all sorts of things. But because it's, we can technically class it in the same as drugs because of the damage, but it's seen in a different light. Like the packet of biscuits, we don't see it in the same way as a roll of weed or whatever you call it.
But potentially the damage is... wait 1 second.
Salt. Do you use salt in your cooking?
I use sea salt. I used to use table salt, and I realised it was having an adverse effect on my health. So a lot of times the food industry, it was giving me very high blood pressure. Along with I put on extra.
Because it's not sea salt. It's not as whatever it's called. It's not as manufactured. But then sugar, then white sugar, then you use golden sugar because it's exactly the same scenario.
The food that we eat, the everyday food that you wouldn't expect, and then when they looked at like the amount of teaspoons there was in I think a glass of Coke, was that 24?
Crazy.
Yeah.
In a glass of 330 ml, there's 10 teaspoons of sugar. So a can of Coke, 330 ml. So yes,
So you guys have actually broadened the conversation about like, would you mind if people did drugs here? Would that kind of prevent you? Like, do you accept drugs? Do you accept people eating sugar, or do you feel like you have to let them know about the health benefits? Aidan, I know you.
I think with the sugar thing, I just kind of looked at these, biscuits.
Yeah.
For a second here. These biscuits say there is 2.9 grams of sugar per biscuit. You kind of said how sugar has adverse health effects. I mean, coming from the States, I see it a lot. We are
most obese country in the world.
Yes, a very obese country. You guys actually don't have that much sugar in your snacks. If this was in the States, there would be 2, possibly even 3 times the amount of sugar in one biscuit than what you guys have.
So we should count ourselves lucky. We should just like tuck in because
Tuck in.
The road, but get in there,
We're going out to Brexit. This is all the. Sorry, I'm going to get back again to it. Because actually we used to be under European regulations. So European regulations are very strict when it comes to food and food supplement and stuff like that. I think because of Brexit, this is going to go all over the board. So basically, everything's going to change, and they will be, according to what they're saying, they're getting more and more relaxed about food regulations.
Okay, so maybe Brexit was more bad.
Well, don't worry, you haven't seen the end of it. You haven't seen every little details that are going to change in England.
Okay, so Mikey, are you concerned about how much sugar is going to go into your weed?
No, but I wonder if there's going to be a sign here saying no alcohol, no sugar in the future. As people consuming sugar get
sweet love. Was that going to be bad as well? Sorry, bless.
I don't know.
But after all, it wasn't cool enough for going wow.
You've totally thrown me off now. No, I don't know. For me, I just think obviously all these things are dangerous. It's in a way it's up to us, but it's hard to resist us. Like I decided to stop eating sugar completely. I used to be addicted to fizzy worms or fizzy dinosaurs, but I've stopped eating them now. But when these are right in front of me, I just probably munched about 10 to 15 of these.
How many spoons of sugar?
I don't know that. Well, it's probably 30 grams, at least 30 grams.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
1 teaspoon is like 7 grams
7
of
grams.
sugar.
Okay, so we've got some intel.
1 biscuit is 10.1 grams per 100 grams. 28.9 grams are sugar.
So how much?
How deadly is an individual biscuit? What's your kind of estimation?
I don't know.
No, so you've got So that's per 100 grams.
Yeah.
So excuse my fingers. Sorry, I'm a chef, so I know.
That's okay. I assume you've got clean fingers because you're a chef. Oh, what's on your fingers?
It's going to be no more than 20. That's not going to be an ounce. So that's going to be about 18 grams. So basically, divide that by 3/4.
So main question is, will we be okay after all these biscuits that we just kind of swarmed around? Is everybody going to be all right? Do we need to have a dance it off or something? Just use this energy.
That would be nice to do a little dance session.
Talkaoke.
Dance session. It's something that we're actually piloting as a new format. Is the Talkaoke?
Sure bring a lot of these.
Yeah, and we have to bring some music as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel.
Is that garden or a park?
Either garden, park, anywhere.
Because I used to live in Limehouse, so I know where Poplar is.
Oh, yeah,
So when's your next visit?
Well, we're going to be in Poplar actually, so down the memory lane for you, 27th of October. It's a Thursday. We're going to start early, 5 o'clock p.m. Well, then come along at 5 o'clock. We're going to do a little memorial for somebody who was our neighbour, but he passed away sadly. Big supporter. Yeah, he was big on the mic. Bless and big up John Baker. But we're going to remember him for an hour, and then we're just going to do Talkaoke, which may still be kind of talking about John, but it's much more open, so it could be a bit more like what we're having tonight. But 27th of October and 24th of November in Shoreditch at Rich Mix. But it is a female focus, that one.
Oh yeah, it's a female focus, isn't it? It's the Women's Network. Is it chauvinist? That's a good question.
Can a woman be a chauvinist?
I feel like
be a chauvinist?
I'm not stirring the pot.
No, well, it's fine. You can do that on Talkaoke.
It's okay, Tommy, because you're high on sugar.
But I'm not saying this.
Problem.
I'm not saying.
We get it.
Biscuits.
I'm not just saying this, but it's actually time for final thoughts probably now. So time to Pensée finale, as they say. Is that right?
Dernière pensée.
Dernière pensée.
Dernière pensée, people.
What does that mean?
There should be
final thoughts.
French.
French.
Yeah, it's time for party. Final thoughts. When is the next party? In the park or in the garden, whatever. Barbecue in the garden?
Well, if we stay here long enough, I think Max is up for a lock-in. So let's keep going.
I had a heavy night last night, so basically I'm having a quiet one this time.
No sugar, no smoking, no nothing.
It's high on life. Sleep party, slumber party. Okay, people. So we, Max, and that includes you as well. We are coming to a final thoughts. So drop the teas.
Ah, monsieur.
And come and give us the final thoughts. You're just doing some side thoughts. This is this is Talkaoke. We're just winding down, but you're welcome to come and join in. It's a talk show, and there's no age limit actually. So you're welcome to come and sit down. So people, you have been fantastic. Some of you have stayed here. You're only going to stay for like 1 biscuit, and then 20 biscuits later. Yeah. I mean, I'm going between all of us. Don't worry. I'm not singling you out. Yeah, we're still here. Hardly any biscuits left. So this is the bit which we call This is the end. This is the end. The end. Which means final thoughts. So please give us some final thoughts. Tommy, I think I'm going to have to do some training with you before you are allowed at the next Talkaoke. No biscuits, number 1. 2. Yeah, all right. Completely. We're completely mad. we lost it. Who cares about microdosing? Yeah, we've covered that actually. But anyway, all right, people. I'm going to stop chatting to this double microphone. I'm going to ask people for final thoughts, and it could be absolutely about anything. Could be a new final thought about something we haven't discussed. Could be something from way back when. I can do a little recap, but I may not have to because we're pressed for time. Mikey's face is some ambiguous.
I don't know. It's up to you. We could talk about.
Start about
so many things.
Okay. Sex in a park. Would you have sex in a park, or would you prefer to have sex in a garden? Hackney being a sexy borough. hard drugs, sugar being the worst of all. Talk about that. Would you sit next to somebody who is doing drugs? Would that put you off? Or people just need to do what they have to do? And actually, if they want to try to remedy their mental health with drugs, they should be able to do that. But also, what about mental health? Is it just one of the other taboos that exist out there? Have we? Yeah, are you allowed to kill yourself? Is it about not wanting to live, or is it about wanting to die? This is what we talked about. We talked about drinking culture in different countries, in France, in Belgium. We talked about our animal instincts and addiction to stress as well as drugs. I have been patted on the back multiple times, but I put it down to biscuits.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say about just marrying up a lot of.
Trying to do some recap here.
A lot of notable French intellectuals have actually chosen to kill themselves.
Was that?
Like, for example, Jean-Luc Godard chose to kill himself a few weeks ago. Gilles Deleuze chose to kill himself. A lot
French.
Yeah, a lot of people actually decided they wanted to die, and they made it not because they were depressed, but just because they were old or in pain.
Okay.
So there is also that side of it as well, and I think people should have the choice to be able to die as well.
No, I'm not going to go there.
Listen, next one is going to be perfect. But Mike, is this your final thought? How would you like to end your life?
No, that's just because he said choosing.
Shall we kill
it's because he said choosing. Just straight that from the record. I was just interjecting.
No, for me, it's the argument against smoking. Obviously, there is so many people to tell me that stop smoking and everything, and I just say thanks for your advice, rather than going to them saying, obviously, I got the choice. I decide what I do with my health. I'm aware of the consequences. I know what they are. I saw people dying from it, but obviously that doesn't stop me from doing it, and I should have the last choice of what I'm doing with my body. And I should
your
have
body, your choice.
My body, my choice.
The impact.
Okay.
That those decisions have.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a impact.
This final thoughts. So this is going to be like the most remembered thing that you have said all day.
It's been great being here.
You stole my thunder. I was going to say that.
No, you can't say that.
Impact. You mean that? But I'm going to cost society. There will be a cost of my smoking in later date.
Everybody who's got an addiction, be it sugar, be it alcohol, drug, there is a cost in terms of health-wise, in terms of services. So if we've got the right provision and we've got enough, then fine. But I think people have to be aware that with their actions, there's
the next thing down the line for me is me not being insured because I'm smoking. So basically, health insurance will not be take me on. They won't take me on because I'm smoking, or I will have a very, very big premium. So basically, yes. Well, I don't know what.
Personal choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
None.
Why people doing, like, if I overeat sometimes, most of the times I'm not hungry. It's like an emotional side. So I think once you tune into why you do the things you do, then you're more aware and you make a better choice about what you do.
I got to see one on this one. I got to see one on this one. Elastic bands. You have to be a certain weight to have an elastic band operations. So basically push people from eating more.
Ah, okay. So there's a higher limit. But anyway, so we were talking about having choice. Our health is also something that we can choose to, I don't know, just make decisions about, and that's just kind of, that exists. You can make those choices. You have had your final thought. No, you have had your final thought. If there's time and demand, I will come back to you.
Value yourself.
Okay, this is your final thought?
Value and love ourselves and do the best to make us the best person we can be. And I think if once we do that, we might find that we drop certain behaviours and activities because we love and value ourselves.
Okay, so love and value yourself. So that was the final thought from this heated corner of the table, even though it's a round table. Max has got no final thoughts. Okay, yeah, we'll come on. All right, Tommy, I've got a feeling you have multiple final thoughts, but give us just one. Can we just settle for one?
It's been actually a pleasure because I was dragged in by these two lovely young ladies. I've really enjoyed it this afternoon, and think at the end of the day, everyone has a choice. Everyone has collateral damage. Some people don't mean to do it. Unfortunately, shit happens. Life goes on, and I think you just have to be. I think you have to indulge. You did say I had a lot of things to say. I think you should indulge, but then there's also a line. Some people cross the line, some people don't. I've crossed the line more than many a times, but then you sort of wake up and you see how life goes. And life is too good for everyone. And I love gardens. I don't like parks.
Big up gardens, down with the parks. Parks, sort it out, plant more trees. Exactly. Okay, we will park that again. I had to say. Okay, final thought from you, Aidan? Anything?
I gotta say, I haven't been here the whole time, obviously, but from what I've been here, it's been a train ride. We've been from politics to mental health to animals and just drugs and everywhere in between.
No rock and roll, though.
Not yet. We need to tell you something.
And I gotta say, I really enjoyed my time, and it was kind of nice to be able to come and talk with other people about their views on these topics and a healthy way to express them, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciated having you here and putting so much into this conversation, including the American perspective on things like biscuits and many more. Thank you so much, Aidan. And do grab a card and do come again. And I hope they sort it out in the park around where your university is, because it sounds like a mess. They need to park it up a bit. Laura, final thoughts? Anything at all? Final thoughts from Laura. Thank you very much.
My final thought is that I agree with Lise that sugar is the biggest and the most terrifying drug that I can say I'm fully addicted to, sadly and happily, depending on the time. So yes, it gave me a lot to think about. So, but I'm glad we could do this drag together today. I feel very connected to all of you guys.
Doing drugs together connects people. It's Laura's final thoughts, even if a drug is white sugar. Thank you, Laura. It's very insightful there. Max?
Oh, Max!
Go on.
Well, after today, I would say that we definitely need to talk more. It's a shame that there's not a lot more Talkaokes around and about.
They will come.
I saw those two boys leaving earlier with a big smile on their face, and I think one of the first conversations we had was how talking and socialising, whatever, improved people's mental health. And those boys definitely went off feeling quite jolly because they just had a bit of a chat. And they're animators, so I imagine they're in front of a computer quite a lot of the time, so I don't know how much they get to talk about stuff like this. So yeah, I don't know, talk more. Sign a petition for a general election.
Yeah. Sign a petition for general election. Let's have a chat about that later. All right. Agat, I mean, do you have a final and initial thought? Anything do you want to put in? You're just gonna kind of
the caterpillar.
The caterpillar. You're gonna caterpillar.
Yeah.
I
just saved the caterpillar that was lost on the backpack. And put it on the tree.
On behalf of the caterpillar. Well, make sure you invite this one. I think it's out and about trying to engage in opportunities.
We were talking about
to a bug hotel, maybe.
We were talking about animals in the garden earlier on, weren't we?
Yeah.
And how much people love animals. But I just want to say I'm an addict to the chats. I'm addicted to chats. It's a very expensive addiction. Needs to be fueled. Chats, yeah, talking, conversation. Yeah, not the Eastern African plant that's high in caffeine. That's cats. That's not. It's pronounced cats. But I'm addicted to chat.
Meow meow.
Yeah. No, I'm addicted to chat, which is conversation. But yeah, as I said, it's very expensive. So so hopefully we can raise the cash.
Talk is cheap.
Talk is cheap, but you do a lot of it.
Okay, I think our TV has just gone into a sleeping mode. We bored our TV to death, so we will end it here. Any final thoughts?
Thank you so much.
All right, well, we're gonna park it here for a fourth time, and guys, enjoy the garden. Come here a lot because it's your resource. It belongs to you. Come and get involved in stuff.
Let's have a huge round of applause for Margot.
Yay!